Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is November 15th, and right now we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery. We got BC, Washington, Oregon to the right. Here goes our system, still spinning across the Intermountain West. Brought some showers yesterday, and it still has a few showers associated with it, but those are on the wane today. And now our eyes start to turn back out across the Pacific Ocean. As you can see, the next cloud shield arriving into the Pacific Northwest. Strong jet stream ripping across the Gulf of Alaska is going to help usher in a very cold air mass. We'll talk about some of the lower snow levels with that. We got winter storm watches up. And then as we go through next week, it looks like we're going to have a dynamic storm develop right off our coastline. So stay with me through the video for the latest on that. Now, taking a look at about 12:45 p.m., we had a funnel cloud, a well-developed one there near Monroe, Oregon, just north of Eugene, south of Salem. And you can see it doesn't look like much here on the Portland Doppler, but you got to remember that it is over 100 miles away from that Doppler radar, so it may have not have been capturing that fully. I'll show you those pictures here next, but let's play through yesterday. You can see the showers and some of that precipitation, pretty persistent across some of the Willamette Valley and the Puget Sound region. And then you see the showers are on the wane this morning, but still a few out there. And you can also see the cloud shield from the next system already arriving from the north and west. So this is what Mary Rodriguez sent me. Monroe, Oregon. Eugene is the bottom there. There's Salem and the Portland Metro. Look at this well-developed funnel. These don't have to be condensed all the way to the ground to do damage on the ground. So I wouldn't be completely surprised if that had touched down at some point. But yeah, again, thanks to Mary Rodriguez and to all my members who send in some of those pictures daily. And just a reminder, I am on Bluesky now for those daily updates. Taking a look at what is to come as far as thunderstorm potential. Probably the next threat here is on the day Sunday. You can see for the coastal areas, maybe a lightning strike or two for some of the interior areas as well. We'll revisit this here as we go through the next couple of days. The SPC is in agreement with that also. Now, looking at the North American model here over the next 60 hours, again, showers are on the wane as we go through the day today. And then you see the next precipitation shield just moving over the area as we go through the morning Saturday. And yeah, we have a lot of cold air aloft, a lot of onshore flow. Some lower elevation snow is possible on some of the higher hilltops. We're not talking about snowfall accumulating on the I-5 corridor or anything like that, but you could see some of these flakes mixing in, and that no doubt gets people's attention here, and especially it's starting to show up in a lot of the smartphone apps. I've been seeing that in a lot of the comments below. Now, as we go through Sunday, you can see some of the showery weather moving in there. That's when the next thunderstorm threat will be arriving. So if we take a look at what is ongoing now, coastal flood advisory is still up for the high tides, beach headers statements, some sneaker wave activity. I'd just go ahead and broad brush that for Vancouver Island, Washington, Oregon coast for today. Winter storm watch for the Cascades starts tonight. And you can see that 12 to 24 inches above 2,500 feet. That would include Snoqualmie Pass. Of course, Stevens and White are even higher. Some of the passes for Oregon are going to be under the gun. Northeast Washington, the Blue Mountains, Rocky Mountains are going to get a nice shot of snow out of this system as well. And this is Spokane National Weather Service through 4 p.m. Sunday. Look at some of these amounts for the Rocky Mountains, Idaho Panhandle, Western Montana, Northeast Washington. Look at Stevens, 18 to 24. Same with Washington Pass there. And even some lower elevation snowfall may start to show up at times as we go towards the early portion of next week. Great stuff here from the National Weather Service Spokane. Here is looking at heavy snowfall potential for the Cascades, Oregon, and southern Washington. Portland National Weather Service all over it. Also, you can see the timing of this on the 17th and 18th. And again, with the minor tidal overflow flooding, Highway 101, just a heads up. Now, if we take a look at significant wave heights, we have had some elevated waves. We're getting kind of a break as we go through the day today and Saturday as well. But then as we go through late Saturday afternoon and Saturday night, you start to get the bump in the waves Sunday morning here. And during the day Sunday, you can see those rolling in also. So this is the 17th. Tides are still going to be elevated. So we got to watch out for that on the day Sunday. I know people will be out trying to view those king tides on the coastal areas. And then Monday looks like another day of some elevated wave action as well. So don't turn your back on the ocean if you're going out there. Now, looking at the European, I waited here this morning so I could show you the most recent information. This is the 12Z run. Let's put this into motion. You can see the showers on the wane. Precipitation as we go through tonight, already moving back into western BC, Vancouver Island. Next frontal system is coming in as we go through the day on Saturday. And again, lots of cold air aloft, nice frontal system, some pretty heavy precipitation amounts for some local areas. But this front is fairly progressive. And then you can see some convergent zone activity as we go through maybe Sunday night on in through Monday morning. Onshore flow continues, showers all the way through Monday. And then watch what starts to happen here as we start to scroll out through Monday night and Tuesday. Look at this bad boy off the coastline here. That is a nasty storm out there. Look at this low, just bombs out to 945. It would be atmospheric river potential, huge waves, some windy conditions. So this is the one we're watching closely as we scroll on in towards next week. This is not fantasy land, folks. This is right here. It's only 96 hours out. It's only 4 days. And you can see its development is going to be occurring a lot sooner than that. So this is going to be our next big weather maker. So lots going on here. And I've got more on this here coming up as we go towards the end of the video. So stick with me. Now, looking at 10,000 feet, there's that trough that just was with us. But then look at this next one. Just a lot of cold air aloft. And this has kind of been going to be flowing over the Pacific Northwest as we go on in through, Monday night coming up. And then you can see this mid-latitude cyclone development, classic warm tongue out ahead of that system there as well. That is just a monster storm. I mean, it drops by an amazing 40 plus millibars in a 24-hour period, easily meeting the criteria of a bomb cyclone. So yeah, that'll be something fun to watch here over the next couple of days to see how that evolves in the weather models. Now, looking at snowfall potential with this upcoming system and the cold air behind it. So this is 24-hour running total. So you can see as we start to go on through Sunday, here we go through Monday morning, you can see some decent amounts coming for the Cascades. And did you notice that as we went on in through what is this Sunday night, some of that starting to show up into the lower elevations here. Again, I'm not expecting accumulations on the cement surfaces down towards sea level, but some of the higher hills, you could see some of those flakes flying, and the models keep teasing at that potential. Then you can see even for some of eastern Washington as well. The elevation is higher out there, so it would be less of a shock, but you can still see the potential for some snow as we move through this upcoming week with this next system, as well as big mountain snows, no doubt. Now, if we take a look at some of the individual locations like Payne Field, Everett, you can see that the control run says, maybe half an inch or so, but again, the cement is too warm. Usually this time of year, you need more of an Arctic blast and colder air at the surface to get accumulating snowfall at this time of year. So you can kind of throw that out. And that's kind of the benefit of having human forecasters. The computer was just telling you this, you might be expecting that. And look at control number 3, saying 11 inches at Everett. So not going to happen, folks. But if we look at Spokane, probably a little bit better chance. We know that because the elevation is higher. It's at 2,400 feet there for Spokane. And a couple rounds potentially as we go through the day Sunday, and then maybe again here as we go through Tuesday night into Wednesday. Vancouver International Airport shows something similar as well. I mean, that's 3 to 4 inches, but we kind of know that's really not going to be piling up in the lower elevations on cement or anything like that. So would not be a heavy disruptive snowfall. Same thing for Portland. It's even showing up in the ensembles here as well. The mean shows up over an inch, but we know that's not going to be sticking on the cement. Snoqualmie Pass, you can see a couple rounds, nice shots of snowfall here as we go. And again, probably starting on the day Sunday, maybe even Saturday night, those start to pick up, those amounts start to pick up. And then again, another round as we go through the midweek period. White Pass, something similar as well. White Pass is 4,500 feet. Snoqualmie Pass is 3,000. Stevens Pass is 4,000, just for reference. Now, this is something interesting here. So this is the Gulf of Alaska. You got Washington, Oregon to the right. This is the 2-meter temperature. So I want to show you what's going on here. Now we're getting a little break before this next system arrives, and you can see this frontal system moving across the water. So you can imagine the temperature at 2 meters off the surface when it's moving across the ocean. This is above freezing. You're looking at temperatures in the 50s, the water temperature. So that is modifying the lower levels of the air mass. You notice once the cold air comes off of Alaska, it doesn't stay that cold for long because it is getting moderated here. So that's why we have such a hard time getting snowfall a lot of times into the lower elevations. We have the Pacific Ocean that likes to moderate our weather. So you need usually the colder air to build up across British Columbia and then take a shorter track where it doesn't have much time to moderate and then right back into the Pacific Northwest. So just kind of showing you that little snowfall 101 here for the Pacific Northwest. Then you can see the classic warm tongue from that very strong low developing as we go through next week. More on that here in a moment. But at 10,000 feet, it's a little bit different. That air mass that's coming off of, this polar lobe here that's coming off of Alaska and the North Pole doesn't, it's not going to moderate as much as 10,000 feet. So it doesn't have the effects of the ocean on it. And then you can see the next mid-latitude cyclone develop there. Now looking at 18,000 feet as well, I always like to show the 18,000 foot heights. You can see this sharp cold front moving in with a very cold air aloft, pushing over the Pacific Northwest. And then this wants to spill out over the Gulf of Alaska. And there's our deep low right there. More on that here in a moment. So if we take a look at, this is the hot off the presses European on the left versus yesterday mornings here on the right. So we're looking at mean sea level pressure. Here goes our powerful frontal system initially with the cold air aloft. Now we start to look off into the extended forecast, and you can see this mid-latitude cyclone. I mean, look at this, 993 millibars. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I go out, only 18 hours. It went from 993 to 945, easily meeting that bomb cyclone criteria. Some models are trending a bit closer to the west coast with this storm system. Big atmospheric river potential, big waves, big winds, all kinds of crazy stuff can go on with the low pressure like this. So if we take a look at the spaghetti chart, this is the GFS Ensemble, hot off the presses this morning. Let me update that, make sure it's all done running. But this is showing mean sea level pressure here in the gray line. You're looking at 990 to 1,000. The green is 980 to 990. And the blue line there is 970 to 980. Big time low pressure center there. So if we put this into motion, this is that strong frontal system racing down across the region there. And then we look out to see what this next nasty boy is going to do, and you can see some red showing up there, 940 to 960 millibar low, just ridiculous right off the coastline there. But you can kind of see how the model disagrees. Of course, this is 30 different ensemble members you're looking at on the GFS, but the overall picture is, it's probably going to be, the development region is probably going to be right here where that mid-latitude cyclone sets up. So that's what's known as a spaghetti chart in the ensemble world. And then we have to watch off to the extended for secondary low development here, a little bit closer to the coastline, which could mean some windy conditions also. Now, if we take a look at the same chart here with the European, look at this. I mean, you're talking about 960 to 970 initially there. Strong frontal system ushers into the Pacific Northwest. And then we see, what does the European say? It's very close to the GFS. I mean, look at all these red circles, 940 to 960, just a monster storm off the coastline here. So this may produce some exceptional wave viewing out there, some incredible atmospheric river, and some very locally windy conditions. Could even create some east winds here, depending on how the low pressure sets up. Because if you create that cross cascade gradient, you can really rip some easterlies through the gaps, Stampede Gap, the Gorge, things like that. So lots to watch with this next storm system coming up here. And I think that's as far out as it goes. Let me update this. 12Z isn't. Let's go ahead and take a look at it here really quick since we're here. Now, again, there it is, right off the coastline there. It looks like it may have backed a little bit up further to the south and west. So actually, we can compare that and look at it right now. Let's go ahead and jump to that. Yeah, it looks like it's a little bit back to the southwest here, but not too big of a deal there. So we're gaining confidence rapidly in this very strong storm system developing off our coastline. And we scroll a little bit off into the future, and you can kind of see some additional low pressure systems trying to move towards the coastline as we go through the extended forecast and the spaghetti charts. So that's something else I'm watching as we go off in towards the later portion of November. Now, let's take a look at what that would mean as far as wind speeds, for example. So with the arrival of this frontal system as we go through tomorrow, you can see some gusty southerlies here, some gusterly southeasterly winds in advance of that storm system, gusty southerlies up the Willamette Valley and the Puget Sound, at least for a time as we go through Saturday night. And then you can see some gusty winds east of the Cascades also. So what we're looking for though here, I want to see what this mid-latitude cyclone looks like. And look at that, just a beauty out there. I mean, it looks like a hurricane. So you got this powerful frontal system, atmospheric river, and you can kind of see that component, easterly component across the Cascades, like I mentioned, could be really triggering some gap winds and reversing that flow through the Strait of Juan de Fuca out of the east. And big wave maker out here could really cast some huge waves. So we'll see how that develops over the next few days. But if you can't tell, I'm pretty giddy about this system. I mean, just an absolute monster. And it could have big impacts here across much of the West Coast. So we'll be watching that here over the next few days. For example, total precipitation in inches. We're just going to scroll through this really fast. There's the first frontal system here. We know it's going to be wet, and then you can kind of see that atmospheric river. Look at some of these amounts showing up for the coastal regions. So yeah, these are all just things we'll be looking at here over the next few days. Look at some of this for the Oregon and California coast, just ridiculous amounts showing up there. But we'll fine-tune things as we get closer. I also wanted to show you here the precipitable water. This is the initial frontal system there, and you can see it is fairly progressive, so we're not really worried too much about flooding concerns with that. That moves through. The cold air aloft will be rushing across our mountains and creating that mountain snow and some lower snow elevations, possibly. We'll revisit that again tomorrow. But then you can see our mid-latitude cyclone development here. And then you get this atmospheric river into the Pacific Northwest and California. And you can see that track up the coastline there and then bounce back south. So when these atmospheric rivers start doing the funky chicken on the West Coast, you really got to take attention to it. You got to pay attention to it because they can cause some nasty flooding. So we'll be watching that here over the next few days and just try to break that down. But anyway, yeah. Yeah, if you can't tell, I'm a little bit excited about that. It'll be interesting to see how that develops, but we are gaining confidence in that. But first things first, strong frontal system will be arriving as we go through the day tomorrow and tomorrow night. Lots of cold air aloft, thunderstorm potential, an increase of wave action here as we go through the day Sunday. And then, of course, we got the big storm rolling in here. But anyway, hope you guys are having a good day. Otherwise, I look forward to breaking this all down again tomorrow. We'll compare to see what the latest in the weather models are, and I will talk to you guys then.